See, the world is starting to wake up to all this bullshit. Now, y'all heard what that man said. They be beating this girl up after the whistle, bro. Beating her up, man. And all y'all want to do is tell us, we casual fans, we don't know basketball. This is a physical sport. Man, ain't no physical sport. It's hate and jealousy, bro. And they be beating that girl up, man. And the WNBA allowed this shit, bro. But like he said, the world's biggest star. But let me guess. He buck dancing. He glazing. He tap dancing. He a coon. Come on, bro. The world is starting to wake up. The biggest star in probably sports right now, bro. Y'all letting this girl get done like that. And that's probably why she hurt. And we all know it.
The WNBA has a golden goose, and they're letting everyone take a swing at it. Caitlin Clark, the player single-handedly rewriting viewership records, has become the league's biggest star and its most controversial punching bag. The brutal hits and uncalled fouls have everyone asking the same question. Is this just a rough welcome to the league, or is something much darker and more calculated playing out right before our eyes? The line between physicality and outright assault has been blurred into non-existence, and the silence from the league office is deafening. Every time she touches the ball, you can feel the tension ratchet up, not because she might hit a logo 3, but because you're waiting for the inevitable body check that the referees will pretend they didn't see. The truth is more shocking than you think, because the campaign against her isn't just coming from her rivals. It's a systemic failure that reaches from the court to the sidelines and all the way to the top.
Reese ain't gonna do it. Somebody got to do something, right? But let's head on over to X right now. Pull up this footage, man. Shout out to the homeboy Mike.
Obviously being fouled. Right in the first quarter, Caitlin Clark obviously being fouled. The refs don't call it.
And it's crazy because let me go back there, because the referee's literally right there. Like, bro, you're right there.
Why is this happening? And I went back and I was thinking the Caitlin Clark phenomenon is one that I got wrong. I never really thought that Caitlin Clark would make the difference that she has in college basketball or in the WNBA. There are, the WNBA opening game for Caitlin Clark set all-time records. There are millions of people that never cared about the WNBA at all that now care because Caitlin Clark is in the WNBA.
It all boiled over with a single vicious play that had nothing to do with basketball, a moment that ripped the mask off the entire operation. When Chicago Sky's Chennedy Carter leveled Caitlin with a blindside shoulder check before an inbound pass, the thin veil of physicality was completely torn away. This wasn't a hard foul in the paint or a tough screen set to stop a play. It was a blatant off-ball assault, a premeditated act of aggression far outside the bounds of competition. The context makes it even more damning. Just seconds before, Carter had audibly called her a BH on the court. It was a calculated personal attack. That moment became a national firestorm because it was undeniable. It captured on camera the raw aggression and personal animosity that Clark has been facing since day one. For the millions of new fans she brought to the sport, it was a horrifying introduction to the league's underbelly. For those who had been watching closely, it was simply the proof they needed to show that this wasn't just tough defense. It was a vendetta.
I can relate to that young lady. I know what it's like to be hated. I know what it's like to be a black woman and hated because of my skin color. Yeah. I can't imagine this young lady, I don't want to use hate, but despise. And people just having, she brought some on herself a little bit because she's cocky for a good reason.
Confident.
And I love that about her. But to watch the dynamics and the media, they had their narrative. And I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't true.
Right.
And Angel.
The immediate aftermath on the court was just as telling. No teammate rushed to her defense. The game just continued. Carter wasn't immediately reprimanded by her coach on the sideline. The league's initial response was to call it a common foul, a laughable assessment that only fueled the public outrage. It was only after a tsunami of public pressure that the WNBA upgraded it to a flagrant 1 foul, a move that felt less like a genuine act of officiating officiating and more like a desperate PR cleanup. Carter's own reaction was a masterclass in deflection. In the post-game press conference, she refused to answer questions about the incident, simply stating, "I ain't answering that." Later on social media, she seemed to mock the situation, suggesting Clark was just a three-point shooter who couldn't handle her defense. This wasn't an athlete showing remorse for a heat-of-the-moment mistake. This was a player doubling down, proud of the message she sent. But that single ugly moment was just the tip of a very large and very dangerous iceberg, revealing a much deeper, more pervasive problem within the league's officiating.
They need to start finding these women, bruh. Finding them, suspending them, and make an example out of somebody, bruh. We ain't gonna tolerate this shit, homie. We not gonna be tolerating this shit right here. What's that guy's name that's getting ready to come to the NBA? The white dude? I can't think of his name right now. The rookie that's going to Dallas. I guarantee you, man, they is not gonna be letting that dude get treated like Caitlin Clark, bruh. And all the men in the WNBA ain't gonna be jealous and shit neither, bruh. We know what we see, bruh. The problem is this, man. A lot of people don't like Caitlin Clark, bro. They just hate the girl so much, man, that they just can't even when the truth is staring them in their face, they chose to go the other way, bruh. Now, that's what you call hate.
But with all that being said, you know, the WNBA referees has been having issues with getting these calls right when it comes to Caitlin Clark and the Fever, bruh. And I'm telling you, we have another case of that. And shout out to all the fans that, you know, put these TikToks together, put these videos together, kind of, you know, breaking down everything that has happened with the WNBA referees, because we have another game and we have another situation where WNBA referees failed to make the right calls against Caitlin Clark and the Fever. But then people want to get mad when Sophie Cunningham pretty much did what she did.
Suddenly, everyone who tuned in started noticing the whistles go completely silent whenever Clark drives to the hoop. She gets hip checked, shoved into the stanchion, and practically tackled in midair. Yet the referees often just stare on, their whistles apparently glued to their lanyards. It's as if the WNBA rulebook has a secret unwritten chapter with a Caitlin Clark exception, where the laws of physics and fouls no longer apply to her. The double standard is staggering and almost comical in its audacity. You'll see other players draw fouls for the slightest bit of contact, a phantom touch on the arm resulting in 2 free throws. But Clark can be thrown to the floor with force, her momentum illegally stopped by a defender's body, and the call is silence. The officials will watch her get mauled in 4K, slow motion replay, and then jog back down the court as if they were simply admiring the architecture of the arena.
Hype and all the videos that everyone on social media has me watching, a lot of clips from the WNBA right now too, and it's absolutely crazy to me to see the types of fouls and the lack of calls that are having on them from these refs that the players are doing. They're just straight hacking each other. And like, we wouldn't even allow that like at our kids' games that we go to watch, let alone in the NBA. And it's just wild to me that you have somebody that took stadiums which only had like 7,000 people in them to attend live games to completely packed and tripling the ticket prices.
This pattern of non-calls has led fans and analysts to believe this isn't just incompetence. It's intentional. It's a message. The league, through its officials, seems to be sending a clear signal. She has to earn respect the hard way, even if it means surviving a level of physicality that would get players ejected and suspended in any other professional sports context. Imagine an NBA rookie like Victor Wembanyama being treated this way. If veterans were taking cheap shots at him off the ball, the league would step in with massive fines and suspensions overnight to protect its future asset. But for Clark, the league seems content to let the Wolves have at her. So if the refs weren't just making a series of unbelievable mistakes, what was really driving this culture of aggression? The answer was simmering in the locker rooms and press conferences across the league, fueled by a potent mix of professional envy and displaced frustration.
The Caitlin Clark effect continues to go wild. We are witnessing a cultural force that has not been seen since Tiger Woods. Let's talk about the effect her teammate has gotten over the last couple weeks. Sophie Cunningham defended her Fever teammate last week in a scuffle against the Mercury, in response to what many people would consider a bit more hazing than usual for Caitlin Clark over the last year and a half. Next, let's look at the top followed WNBA athletes in the league right now. Just in the last week since she defended her teammate, she has now gained over 1 million followers collectively. By the end of this week, she'll probably be top 4. Now, we don't have official figures for TikTok, but she is at 1.3 million followers on TikTok now.
Let's call it what it is, a brutal ballet of professional jealousy. Caitlin Clark walked into the league with a monumental Nike deal reportedly worth up to $28 million, a figure that dwarfs the salaries of most WNBA veterans combined. Before she even played a single professional game, it was announced that her team, the Indiana Fever, would be flying on charter flights for the entire season. This wasn't just a minor perk, it was a luxury that veterans and icons of the sport had been fighting for years, a symbol of respect and professionalism they felt they had earned but never received. Then, this rookie comes in and is handed it on a silver platter. She became the face of the league overnight, her face plastered on every ESPN broadcast, her name trending daily on social media. For players who had been grinding in relative obscurity for years, pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into a league that struggled for mainstream attention, it felt like a slap in the face. Their years of hard work were being overshadowed by a newcomer who, in their eyes, hadn't paid her dues.
You think that was dirty by Caitlin Clark? Let's start there. You think that was dirty by Caitlin Clark?
It don't matter. It was basketball. It don't matter if it was dirty or not. It was bad. I mean, we seen intentional dirty plays in both leagues. It don't even matter if it was dirty or not. It was a foul. She stopped a layup.
It was a foul. It was a good hard foul, and Caitlin wasn't even wrong for going to defend her teammate because it was some good hard fouling going on. That's it.
You got to put it in perspective, right? These girls have been grinding to grow the game of basketball in the WNBA. They've been grinding to grow the sport to the world, the viewerships. They've been grinding for all of this. And then you have this girl that comes along from college and is an instant change. She's handed pretty much being the face of the league. There's going to be girls that are offended by that. And there's going to be girls that think she's got to earn it and she doesn't deserve this early. She's handled it great. I think she's performed last year. She's performing again this year. I think she's the rightful face.
This cauldron of resentment has a clear leader in Angel Reese. She has fully embraced the villain role in her rivalry with Clark, a narrative that dates back to their college championship showdown. While Reese claims it's just about competition, her on-court actions tell a different story. In one game, she blatantly struck Clark across the head while going for a block, a move that was upgraded to a flagrant foul. Reese celebrated the hard foul, a move that seemed designed more to intimidate and injure than to make a legitimate basketball play. Her post-game comments often carry a thinly veiled edge, suggesting that she and others are the real reason people are watching, not just Clark. It's a performative bitterness, a way to channel their frustration into on-court aggression. Diana Taurasi, a WNBA legend, set the tone before the season even started with her infamous comment, "Reality is coming." It was a warning, a promise that the professional league would not be the welcoming stage Clark enjoyed in college. That reality has manifested as a league-wide green light to treat Clark not as a fellow competitor, but as a target.
Dominated by black women in a black league that they want to mirror the NBA. But unfortunately, them white girls, they got an extra, they got an extra three-point finger or something. Because this girl has done 565 games. She only played 45 games, and she's one away from tying the WNBA record. WNBA record. This is her second season.
But the on-court jealousy was only half the story. The other, more explosive half erupted across television screens and social media, turning this into a national spectacle. At first, many legacy media outlets dismissed the complaints as new, casual fans being overprotective of their favorite player. They trotted out the old "welcome to the pros kid" narrative. But after the Chennedy Carter incident went viral, they could no longer ignore the undeniable evidence. The conversation shifted dramatically. Major commentators like Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee, who command massive audiences, began to ask the uncomfortable questions that were bubbling just beneath the surface. They directly addressed the unspoken dynamic, the targeting of a white superstar in a predominantly black league. This wasn't just about basketball anymore. It had morphed into a full-blown cultural conflict, a proxy war for larger societal debates about race, privilege, and respect. This media firestorm forced everyone to pick a side. There was no middle ground. You either believed Clark was being unfairly targeted in a way that was detrimental to the sport, or you believed she was a product of hype who needed to toughen up and that the veterans had every right to test her. The discourse became incredibly toxic, with social media comment sections turning into battlegrounds. The nuanced reality that one could respect the veterans' long struggle for recognition while also condemning the dangerous plays directed at Clark was lost in the noise. It was a perfect storm of sports drama and cultural tension, and it was generating unprecedented attention for the WNBA. But just when you thought the pressure on Clark couldn't get any worse from the outside, fans started noticing something deeply strange and unsettling coming from her own bench. While opponents were lining up to treat Caitlin Clark like a human piñata, her own coach, Christie Sides, seemed content to just watch the carnage unfold. Fans and seasoned basketball critics alike have been utterly baffled by her stunningly passive approach. Game after game, as Clark gets hammered with no calls, Sides remains on the sideline with a placid expression, her arms calmly crossed. There are no fiery tirades at the referees, no strategic timeouts called to regroup and protect her star player, and certainly no technical fouls earned for vociferously defending her team's franchise player. Her post-game press conferences are a masterclass in downplaying the obvious. When asked about the brutal physicality, she offers generic coach speak like, "It's a physical league," or "She's learning to adjust." This isn't leadership, it looks like calculated apathy. This has fueled a chilling theory among viewers, that the Indiana Fever organization is deliberately letting Clark take this beating, but why? One theory is that they're trying to force her to toughen up through a trial by fire, a sink or swim mentality that risks breaking their most valuable asset. Another more cynical theory is that the coaching staff is afraid of alienating the other players on the team by appearing to give Clark special treatment. By not vocally defending her, they are trying to maintain locker room harmony, but this strategy has backfired spectacularly. Instead of fostering team unity, it has created an environment where Clark looks completely isolated. You can see it in her body language. After a particularly egregious non-call, she'll look to the bench for support and see nothing but blank stares. It's a profound betrayal, leaving the league's biggest star to fend for herself, not just against her opponents, but against the deafening silence of her own team's leadership. It's a failure of coaching that borders on sabotage. This entire chaotic circus puts the WNBA in a twisted, morally bankrupt position. The Caitlin Clark effect is a financial miracle for a league that has long fought for relevance. Her games on the Indiana Fever are shattering viewership records on every network. The team, once an afterthought, is now a must-see event, with ticket prices for their games soaring into the hundreds of dollars on the secondary market. Arenas are selling out across the country, filled with fans wearing Clark's number 22 jersey. The league is cashing in on the very controversy that threatens to destroy its most valuable commodity. Every cheap shot, every shove, every viral clip of her getting knocked to the hardwood fuels the debate shows on ESPN and FS1, drives clicks, and keeps the WNBA in the headlines. The league is playing an incredibly dangerous game, cynically profiting from the drama while simultaneously risking the long-term health and career of the one player who holds the key to its future prosperity. Their official statements are nothing more than hollow corporate platitudes about player safety that are contradicted by the reality on the court every single night. The league's inaction isn't a sign of weakness or incompetence. It's beginning to look like a conscious business strategy. They are riding the wave of controversy for short-term financial gain, seemingly willing to gamble that Clark can withstand the abuse. It's a high-stakes bet that could either cement the league's place in the mainstream or end in a catastrophic injury that would alienate millions of new fans for good. And through it all, Clark's own response has been nothing short of remarkable. Despite the relentless physical punishment, she largely gets up, dusts herself off, and gets back to playing. Her post-game interviews are models of professional restraint. She rarely complains, focusing instead on the team and the next play. This incredible mental fortitude only makes the lack of protection she's receiving even more glaring. She's trying to rise above it, even as so many forces seem determined to pull her down. So Caitlin Clark is trapped in a paradox. She is fighting off opponents who resent her success, battling referees who seem to have forgotten their whistles, and playing for a coach who won't publicly defend her, all while the league she's enriching silently counts the money rolling in from the spectacle. The situation has the entire sports world holding its breath, watching this tightrope act and wondering which will break first. Caitlin Clark's body and spirit under the weight of this unprecedented assault, or the league's cynical refusal to protect its its most valuable asset. Her resilience has been nothing short of heroic, but as the hits keep coming, harder and more frequent, one has to ask, will she be forced to change her transcendent game just to survive? Or will her ordeal, broadcast live for the world to see, finally force the entire WNBA to look in the mirror and change itself for good?